Good afternoon and welcome back to Small Charity IT Day. Hopefully you've enjoyed some of the webinars already today by my colleagues Adam and Pav. I'm going to be presenting Making Your Mark Online, all about your online journey as a charity. So this morning we've already had presentations from Adam and Pav. I hope you enjoyed those, and they were joined by some industry experts from across the web, so Charity Digital and Sophos, to speak about cybersecurity and hints and tips for charities online. Hopefully really enjoyed those. We've got another presentation coming up this afternoon by Mike. He's going to talk along with David Robertson, who are going to talk about digital transformation and hints and tips around collaboration and working online, which has been really, really important over the last 18 months. So this is our schedule. As I say, we've already had 2 presentations, and then up next we're going to have working as a team in the virtual world, and then don't miss our prize draw at 4 o'clock. If you haven't already entered the prize draw, the details are in the Q&A section, so please go click and enter the prize draw, and we'll be announcing who the winner is at 4 p.m. Also in the Q&A section is a link if you want to sign up to have a consultation with any of us about any of the topics that we've spoken about today, or basically anything to do with IT or web that you are interested in. So let's just start with a little bit of an introduction to who we are. We are Click IT, and we work exclusively with charities and not-for-profits. Anything to do with IT and web, we are your people. So we offer managed IT services, IT support, cloud solutions, cybersecurity, web design, digital marketing. If there's anything to do with your IT ecosystem, we're the people that can help you out. So like I say, if you want a free consultation, you want to chat to chat to us about any of those things, then please do. It's a completely free consultancy service. We've been working with the third sector for nearly 20 years now, so lots of experience. One of the advantages of that is we have lots of different charities doing lots of different things, which means that we need to be ahead of the game and make sure that you are too. We offer a dedicated account manager, one of us guys that you will have seen presenting today. And one of the big things that we also do for charities, because we know it's really important for you to have your funds available to do all the good work that you do, is funding assistance as well. So I don't think we've sort of covered a lot of that off today, but if you want some more information on that, then please do get in touch. There is a live Q&A section. It's going to be running throughout my session. I'll leave it live a little bit after I've finished as well. If you've got any questions that you want to ask about anything that we've discussed today, please pop it in there. If I don't have time to go through everything, then I will sort of answer as we go along after the Q&A, after the session is finished. And also you can sign up for a live consultation if you want to sort of have a chat through about more specific things to do with your charity. So let's get started with making your mark online. Being online, particularly over the last 18 months, but for all time, has been such an important thing for charities in order to get your name out there, to get your mission out there, to reach donors, service users, funders. So it's really important, particularly now, that you have a really good online presence, and there is lots and lots of different ways to do that. So I'm just going to go through a few of them today, and a few of the tools that we recommend to really sort of boost your online presence. So the first one, and the most important one for all charities, is of course your website. It's your shop front. It's where people can come and learn all about what you do. They can donate online, all these things that you want to make sure that you are reaching people, and you can't get out there and do it in person. That's what your website's for. There's lots of different website platforms out there that you can build your website on, right through to having a completely bespoke website built for you. We recommend WordPress, and there are several different reasons that we recommend WordPress as a fantastic platform to build your website on. And one of the big ones is that it's open source. Now, what that means for you is that you, instead of having a couple of developers working on a specific platform for you, have hundreds of thousands of people that are developing for WordPress. And that really gives you an advantage in terms of cost efficiency, widgets, plugins and things that are able to be utilized from across the WordPress platform to make your website sing and dance and do everything that you need it to without the expense of having to have that developed yourself. So it's a really, really good platform in terms of that. The other thing is that you own your website. So there are lots of other options out there where you can sort of go in and use a website creator, which is great, and will deliver you a very nice looking website. But do check that you own your content, because that's a really big thing for charities. If you're going to put a lot into your website, you want to be able to take that with you wherever you go. And if you want to change platforms or anything, it's a really big thing to consider. Now, of course, we know now that everyone uses mobile devices and tablets and laptops and desktops and lots of different sizes of screens to access websites. So one of the really important things that you want to do when you're looking at building your website is make sure that it is responsive across all of those. It's all very well having a website that looks absolutely fantastic on a desktop and then doesn't quite render very well on a mobile phone. WordPress is built really well for that. It's integrated into the whole website platform to be responsive across any different device that you're using, any different screen size, and that's really important for user experience. And of course, the user experience is what's going to get people through to making the donations or, joining up to be a service user. Speed and browser compatibility, again, really, really important. As you know, there are a million different types of phone, there is a million different types of browser that people use. It's very much personal preference on which platform you've decided to use as a personal basis. WordPress works across everything and it works fast, which is absolutely brilliant. And that's what you want to make sure that your users can get through and do what they need to do on your website. Now, obviously, your website's there to host content. And WordPress is a brilliant content management system. It's very simple to use. It's all integrated into the same thing. Makes it really easy for you to be able to maintain your website, make the changes that you need to use, you need to do as and when you want to make them. I'm going to come on in a minute to a content management sort of overlay that we use called Elementor, which makes it even easier. But even just the base of WordPress itself is very simple, very user friendly, and allows you to build a beautiful looking website, and maintain that within your charity yourself, which is a really big step forward to anything that's sort of built bespoke or anything like that. And of course, another thing that I'm going to come on to later is social media. It's now essential, really, to be across social media. That's where everyone is. That's where people are looking for things. Facebook is one of the biggest search returns. When people are searching online, you can get a lot of pages that come up from Facebook and LinkedIn in particular that come up before the website itself. So it's really important to be using your social channels well, and I'll go into that. But also that they integrate well into your website. So what you want to have is a completely linked up online experience for people. So be that whether they hit your social media, whether they find you on Google, whether they are looking at your website, to make sure that everything across the platform and across your brand is easy and it's working well and it's got a good user experience and it's all linked up together. So Elementor, as I briefly touched on earlier, is a content editor. And as hopefully you'll be able to see from this very little sort of video GIF here, it is the easiest thing to use when you're talking about website design. It is literally drag and drop. The other thing is that it's WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get. So instead of some platforms where you make a change and then you preview it to see if it works and it doesn't quite look right and you go and try and change it, Elementor allows you to basically edit a live page. Now, nobody else can see what you're doing. It's all done on the back end, but it's really easy to basically drag and drop these elements into place and build a page that looks visually stunning and has all of the different usability things that you need it to have. Now, there's a long list of things, and I'm not going to go through all of them there. If you want to have a read through, this recording is going to be available afterwards, and you can have a read through all of the things that it does, or if you want some more information, I can provide it. But the main thing is the ease of use, but also the amount of tools that Elementor provide. Whatever you can think that you would like to do with your website, generally Elementor has a widget there for you. So be that integrating your social feed, buttons, contact forms, sliders, anything that you want to make your website look beautiful, it's there and it's built for you and it's really easy to do and it's easy to amend as well. So as you can see here, just on the GIF, they're dragging in text and dragging in images, and you just upload the images and the text that you want. If that's already been done for you, you can just go back in. It's literally a click of a button, change the text, change the image. It's so simple. You can also save pages, you can create templates, you can template small sections and duplicate them across your site. So it's a fantastic tool, and one that particularly the charities that we've worked in have found an absolute godsend, really, because it means that you are able to have control over your website. It means that you're able to work on the content, make changes, small changes when you need them, rather than sort of, asking for a developer and waiting for development time. It's all it's integrated into your site. That's how you view it. You view it all through Elementor and really simple to use. So if you want to have a chat through that about your website, then please do, do sign up for a consultation, and I will talk you through that, or one of my colleagues can talk you through that in a bit more detail. There's a few other website services that obviously you need to consider when you're looking, if you're looking at, creating a website from scratch, or maybe updating your website slightly. And one of the most important things is hosting. So it's all very well to have a beautiful website that looks great and has all this functionality in it. But if your hosting's not up to scratch, it's going to cause issues for your end user. You want to make sure that you've got hosting that guarantees your uptime, that is able to hold the site, however big your site may be. Now, some sites are very small and you can go for sort of quite a basic hosting. If you've got a very visual site with lots of videos and lots of images, then you need to be considering how fast that's going to load on someone's browser. And a lot of that comes down to the hosting. So really looking into the hosting, it shouldn't be a second thought, just, oh, I'll host it somewhere. Making sure that that hosting does everything that you need it to is really important, because you want to give the right impression to your users and anyone that's coming onto your website. Video and external content is always great for websites, and anyone that is using social media a lot will know that video and images, they are eye-catching, they're the posts that you read. And the same goes for a website. If you go onto a website and it's just pure text, it's a difficult user experience. People want things that look nice and do what they need to do at the same time. So utilizing things like video, curating external content as well, making sure that you've got lots of fresh content and things going on, can really help your website sing. And one of the big things about, once you've built your website, is making sure that you are putting fresh content on there. One of the things that Google looks at is your website still live? Is your company, is your charity still working? Are you still doing well? And one of the ways that it ranks content now is, are you providing informative content to users, and are you providing regular content? So that's a way that you can kind of say to both, visitors to your website, but also to Google and search engines in general, that you are live, that you are helpful, and that you are providing a really good service to people online. And that's going to really help with your Google rankings. Wherever you get your website built, make sure you're getting really good training and support. It's all, if you're getting it built by, on a specific platform, or if it's being built bespoke, it can be more stressful in terms of making sure that you know how to use the back end of it. Using something like Wordpress and Elementor, or another commonly known website building platform, means that wherever you go, people are going to know how to use that, how to support you, and how to train you on that. But it's really important to make sure that wherever you get it built, you do have a really good training on the back end of your website, so that you can own it and you can know how it's working and sort of keep that content up to date. We, for example, when we build a website, provide a written user guide as well as in-person training to make sure that when we hand that website over to you, alongside our ongoing support and maintenance, that you know how your website functions and you are able to, use it however you want to, and make sure that you feel a real connection and ownership to your website, which is really, really important. Another thing that a lot of people sort of disconnect from websites, but actually is really important to keep together, is email marketing automation as well. So if you've got sort of any email marketing that you're doing, so regular newsletters or anything about events or something you're sending out to people, being able to integrate that really nicely into your website works really well. So being able to have forms, user forms on your website that can connect straight into your email marketing platform, be that something like MailChimp, for example, which means that you don't have to take, any steps to manually update and ensure that people's contact details are staying fresh and that everyone's being connected, you're not missing anybody. Being able to have that automation between the two is really important. And actually, WordPress itself works really, really nicely with a lot of CRMs and a lot of email marketing systems, and they link together so that there is no sort of middleman needed. The automation goes between the two. You can set which information is sent between the two, and just make sure that that is a really seamless route for people to take if they want to sort of join up to hear from you more, which of course you want people to do. You want to be able to tell them about your services or how they can donate or support you further or volunteer. SEO, it's huge. It's something that we should all be doing. It's something that, every charity could, benefit from doing with their website. And it's something that actually quite often people don't have time for, and it's a real shame. Yoast is a brilliant, brilliant tool. It works seamlessly with WordPress. It's something that we apply to any website that we build here at Click. It is basically a guide on how to make your website perfect for Google. So WordPress and Google actually play really, really nicely together. The way that WordPress has been built to optimize search and make sure that your website is easily found on Google. So that's a really good starting point. But Yoast actually goes through and it looks at each individual page and it looks at your key search terms and it will tell you how to make it better. It is basically a user guide to SEO per page. And it goes through, it gives you a traffic light system. So you might have some pages where are green and you've used the right headings and you've used the right alt text and all these kind of things. And it's all perfect and Google can see everything that you're supposed to be doing. The other side of things is the pages that are orange and red. So those that, for example, you might not have filled in your metadata, you might not have, put alt tags behind your images and things like that. And it will tell you exactly what you should be doing and you can do it and it will then grade your page as you go. So it's a really interactive tool, which is absolutely brilliant. It also gives you a preview of how you show up on Google, which is really, really useful because I don't know, a lot of people don't realize actually you can influence your search display. So you can put in the title that you want. It doesn't have to be the title from your web page. You can put in your metadata so that the description that you're shown might be different, or your image that you want to be displayed across both Google and your social. If someone shares a page and it brings up that little preview, making sure that all of those things are actually what you want to show rather than what Google may have picked out from the page as being most appropriate can actually make a really, really big difference to the number of click-throughs that you get from social media because it's the right content in the right context to that particular keyword. So yeah, it's a brilliant tool. There are lots of other tools out there, and I definitely, if you haven't looked into boosting your SEO across your website, I would 100% think have a look at Yoast or other tools, or come and have a speak with us, and we can give you some pointers on the best way to do that. Another free tool, and this kind of ties in quite nicely with SEO, another free tool is Google My Business. Now, if you haven't used Google My Business already, go claim your charity on Google. It's basically there, and I don't know, you can probably see a little bit in my image here. When you search and you get the little box at the side that gives details on your charity and where you are and the images and the services, you can change that. So Google My Business basically puts your business onto Google in a much more detailed and visual form. So you can add pictures, you can add services, you can add donation opportunities. You can add, if you've got a shop, for example, you can add items from your shop and people can go straight from Google through to your shop, through to purchase. So it really helps round out that user experience. If people are finding you on Google, they can see everything about you. They can view a map, they can view reviews if you are a charity that collects reviews online, all of those kind of things tied in really nicely. Google My Business basically gives you control over that, and it really improves your SEO. And if you can tie that, so if you can tie Google My Business into your website and also into Google Analytics or your analytics platform, particularly Google Analytics, it's the big one that everyone uses in terms of Google itself. If you can tie them all in together, you're going to get much more information back from what people are searching for and what they're trying to do online. So if you can really connect all those together, you can boost your website using the keywords that, for example, Google Analytics is suggesting. You can tailor your Google My Business to the search terms and the services that people are looking for, and really make sure that when you're seen online and when you're, visitors are viewing your website or people are searching for you online, they're being shown the best information that's for them, that's really going to get them through to you and make sure that they know what you do and what you want from them, and whether they're a service user or a donor or a volunteer, whatever it is you're trying to reach online, can be a fantastic boost. And part of that, so if you haven't already had a look at your Google Ad Grants, again, go and do it. So Google Ad Grants is a fantastic incentive. It basically gives charities free advertising on Google, and who doesn't want that? You can use your advertising for whatever, so whether that be you want to just basically get your name out there more, make more people understand what it is that you do and the mission that you're working towards, whether you want to boost your donations, whether you want to get more people using your service, whether you want more volunteers, you can basically have ads running for free. You get a pot of money, £6,000 a month to spend on Google Ads, which is incredible. So if you haven't done it already, definitely go and check it out. If you need some help walking through the process, there's an application process you have to go through. It's fairly straightforward, although it can take a little bit of time, but definitely worth it. And if you want some more information on that, then come and speak to one of us, and we can help you out and sort of point you in the right direction for that. One thing that a lot of charities don't take advantage of is their emails. So we recommend Exclaimer for Microsoft 365. If you're using 365, it also works with Google as well. There are lots of different sort of centralized signature management tools out there, but Exclaimer is the one that we tend to work with because it's really nice and it's easy to use. But using your signatures in your emails can be a really big thing for charities. So if you have an event going on, so if any of you are in connection with us already, they've received emails from us, you will have seen, for example, Small Charity ID Day has been on our signature footer for a while now to make sure that you all knew about it. But if you've got events, if you've got a donation drive that you're running, or if you're looking for more volunteers or anything like that, you can really use your signature to reach out to people and give them information that perhaps you wouldn't just generally email around or anything like that. Now, Exclaimer works really nicely. So not only does it build your brand, so it means that everybody within your organisation has the same signature with the right font, with the right logo, all in the same place, all with the right colours, and everyone has a uniform look to their email signatures, which is really important actually when you're trying to build your brand and your sort of awareness with your followers and users. But as I say, it can also allow you to get more information out there, or sort of, you know, basically tell people more about your organisation and what you're trying to do. Now that can link through to your website, it can link through to your social media, whatever it is that you're trying to push at the time. And you can see here, just in the quick little GIF that I've got here, how easy it is to switch your signatures as well. So you can have multiple signatures there, and depending on who you're emailing, or, you know, if you're sending out group emails and things like that. It's just a really useful tool, and a little bit of extra marketing that maybe you hadn't thought about. So I'm very quickly going to touch on social media now. If you're not on social media already as a charity, get your pages set up, and it can be a big thing and it can be daunting for some people, especially if you're not particularly social media savvy. But actually just having the pages there can really, really boost the number of followers that you have, your presence online. It can really help with Google in terms of your search rankings. It's just a really, really important tool. Now, there are a million different platforms out there, and what is right for one charity won't always be right for another. So it's really important to look at the different platforms that you've got, and I'm going to come on a little bit to sort of hints and tips in a second. But make sure you're using the right platform for you, and you can actually really utilize social media to gain public support. You can use it to have donation drives. A lot of you may have seen, for example, on Facebook now, that people can use charities as their birthday donation platforms and things like that. So making sure that you're present on these platforms, that you have a voice to reach people, and it means that you can be a bit more connected with people. So your website is brilliant, and that's your shop front and what people will come for information. But social media gives you a voice, it gives you a personality, it gives you an opportunity to speak to your followers in a way that you wouldn't speak to them elsewhere. And it means that you can kind of give them a bit of a behind the scenes view into your charity, and that can really strengthen that connection that users and donors, for example, have with your cause. These are just a few of the channels. There are literally so many. These are the big ones. I mean, there are other much smaller, you know, Tumblr and those kind of ones that sit in the background that are not used quite as much, but actually might be perfect depending on who you are trying to reach. Facebook and Instagram are still the giants in terms of number of users, but actually a lot of charities do really, really well across Twitter. And LinkedIn particularly, you know, depending on what kind of charity you are, who you're trying to reach, have a think about that. Have a think about the content that you would produce. What channel would that sit best on? Where are your users going to be? Where, you know, if you're trying to reach someone who's going to be in the office all day and at work all day, and they might be on LinkedIn, for example, that's the platform that you need to be on. That's the platform that you need to be sharing content on. If it's more of a, you know, evening browsing on socials, then maybe Facebook, Instagram is more your kind of bag. So have a think about who you're trying to reach, when they would be using it, and what kind of content they'd want to see. And it doesn't have to all be your content either. You know, you can curate content from externally. So if you are, for example, on Facebook, even just having a browse through and thinking, actually, do you know what, that's a really nice piece of content that somebody else has shared, to share that and then give your own opinion on something. It doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to be coming up with things each and every day and new fresh content. Utilize what's out there already. So how do you make it work for you? So one of the big things is consistency and brand identity. So you've got your website running, you've done your Google My Business, make sure that your social fits in really nicely with that. So make sure that your logo is visible, you're using your brand colors, you've got your name really clearly stated. All of these kind of things means that it really ties in nicely. So if someone is looking for you online, wherever they find you, they're getting the same user experience. And that's really important. A lot of the socials now will let you brand the URL. So they'll give you a random URL, which generally is a load of letters and numbers. It doesn't really mean a lot to anybody. But what you can go in is you can actually go in and brand that URL to your username. So make sure you're doing that. It makes it a lot easier if you want to share out your username to people as well, because you can just give them your set URL. It also just looks nicer, and it really helps with Google as well, because again, it's another place where it's recognizing your charity. I spoke about videos in terms of websites, same applies to social, lots of visual content. So photos, videos, those kind of things, really important. If you're not a particularly visual charity, have a think about what you could use instead. So, you know, you for anyone that follows us on social, you know, website side of things, yes, it's very visual and it's great. In terms of IT, there's not, you know, a lot of, you sort of think really impactful images. However, we work with people. Everyone works with people. There are lots of images that resonate with people using IT, and the people that use, for example, your service. Who are those people? Can you use imagery around that? You can be a bit creative. You know, it doesn't have to be really serious and really clear all the time in terms of this is our service. It can be lots of different things, and let people in the back door a little bit. Let, you know, who are your team? What are you doing? You know, what do you do on Friday afternoons in the team that's fun? Those kind of things are actually what builds that relationship with people online, and it's what social's there for. It's to give them a bit more of a connection to you as an organisation. And on the same side of that, get people involved. So can you ask people for questions? Can you ask them to submit ideas? Can you ask them what your next event should be? Those kind of things. Get people interacting with you, because once you build up that two-way conversation, that makes such a difference to the engagement and connection that someone is building with what you do, and where you are trying to go as an organisation. And there's a little thing here that I really liked and I wanted to share with you, and it's hopefully will stick in your head, and that is to take the PETS approach to social. So the first one is your PER, which is protect your mission. Whatever you are doing, whatever message that you want to put out to people, make sure that wherever you are doing that, it's consistent. Make sure that people know who you are, that you are telling them exactly who you are and what you do, and make it really clear and key, and the same across everything. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're saying it in the same way, but make sure that your message is clear and the same. So there's no conflicting information across any of your platforms. Engage your audience. So I've already said, you know, make sure that you've got lots of different things on there with lots of different types of content. So visual content, behind the scenes content, polls, questions, anything that's interactive, anything that allows people to engage with you as a charity is excellent. And then take the time to engage with your followers. If people are commenting on your posts, reply to them. If people are sending you messages, make sure that you're picking up on that. If people are leaving you reviews, say thank you. Those kind of things really mean a lot to people. Social media is, you know, it's big, and it can be faceless sometimes when you're talking to a charity organisation online and you're not getting any response. The more that you can engage with people and take the time to really respond to people and engage with people and interact with people, that's what's going to build that connection between you, and that's what's going to keep someone following you. It's going to keep someone supporting you as a charity. It's also going to make them tell other people about you and share across their platforms what you've been doing and how engaging you've been with them. And then lastly, share consistently. So make sure that you are sharing across all your channels. what I would say is make sure that your tone of voice and how you're sharing is applicable to the channel. Not everything's the same. Twitter in particular, you've only got a few words to be able to use. So make sure that you are really changing your content to make sure it sings on that particular channel, and also the different users on each different channel. So, you know, LinkedIn is a very different beast to, for example, Facebook. So make sure that the way that you're writing your content and the way that you're reaching people is tailored specifically to those sites. The other thing that I would say is be consistent. So if you start off and you're posting 3 times a day everywhere, and then you realise after a week that you don't have enough content, and then you post once a week for 3 weeks, that's confusing for your followers. If you know that you're not going to be able to post every day, set out at the beginning and say, right, I am going to post 3 times a week, 1 time a week, 5 times a week, whatever that is, and make sure that it's consistent across everything, because then people know what they're getting from you, and they'll also know what to wait for and when the next post is going to be. So I hope that whirlwind tour across online was helpful for you. The things to really take away from this is choose your website platform carefully and make sure that you can work with it and it works for you and your charity. Use Google, every Google tool in terms of Google Analytics, Google My Business, Search Console, which I didn't get to touch on today, but if anyone wants to know more, let me know. They're really, really good for SEO, and the more that you interact with them and engage with Google, the better they're going to treat you online, and you're going to get better rankings out of it. Create and curate fresh content. Let everyone know that you're open. Let everyone know that you're doing stuff and what you're doing, and that you're active. And get active on social. Use your social platforms, and it doesn't have to be, you know, lots of different fresh content. You can curate from different places, but just make sure that people know who you are, what you're doing, and that you're still there. Obviously, if you want to talk to myself or one of my colleagues a bit more about your website or anything IT or web related, do make sure that you sign up for a consultation. And there's a link in the Q&A for that. Speaking of which, I'm going to go over to the Q&A now. We've got quite a lot of questions here, so I'm going to go through some of these. Anything I don't get to answer during the session, I will type in afterwards. So I'm going to start from the top. So how do you get Elementor in WordPress? So Elementor is a plugin. Basically, it applies over the top of your WordPress, and it then allows you to edit pages within Elementor. If your website has already been built, you would need to restructure those pages. You can open them in Elementor, but you can't edit them in Elementor. So the pages that you have already created, you would still edit in your old WordPress editor, but once it's in there, you can build and create new pages in your Elementor and drag your elements in and things like that. So it is a brilliant tool, and if you don't have it on your website and you would like to talk to one of us about how to get it on there, give us drop us a line in terms of a free consultation. We can go through that with you. In terms of training, yes, absolutely. So we can do that for you. We can, you know, provide training after we've done that for you. One of the big things that we do is help websites with their online presence. So building their websites, putting Elementor on there. We can help you with copy editing, anything like that that you need around your web presence. That's what we're here for. If you want to know more specific to your organisation, your website, your social, let us know and we can kind of talk through the best process, the best platforms, and sort of take it forward from there. And yes, definitely training is always provided with everything that we do to make sure that you know what you're doing afterwards, and we're always around to sort of support you on your online journey. There is a question here which is around examples of websites built in WordPress. Yes, lots and lots of them. So if anyone wants to, I will post in a minute in the Q&A a link to our website portfolio on our website. Go and have a look at the websites, see what they are, have a sort of little journey around, and you'll see there are a million different designs. Everyone is very bespoke. It's done specifically to what that charity needed. So you'll be able to see that it's not, you know, it's not just pure templates and things like that. It can be really, really unique to each charity. So hopefully that will be helpful. And I think Jenny's going to post that in there for me as well. So thank you very much. There we go. So online shop. Yes, you can. So There is quite a lot of plugins that do online shopping for you. The most common one, and the one that we use most, is WooCommerce, which some of you may have heard of. It's all built into WordPress. It all stays on site, so you can have everything on site. It means that you're not sending anybody else anywhere else, which can sort of interrupt that user journey. But lots of different opportunities to have an online shop. And again, if you have a look at the online portfolio, you'll see that a lot of the charity sites that we've built do have an online shop, and it works really, really well for them. And that can be built within WordPress and within Elementor, which is really, really useful. This one's quite an interesting one, which is, why do I need an Ssl certificate? So this was introduced, I mean, Ssl certificates have been around for a very long time, but recently, or a couple of years ago, Google decided that it was then going to be a more than a recommendation. If you are Googling and you click onto a site and it doesn't have an Ssl certificate, Google will warn you. Now, what that Ssl certificate does is it shows that your website is secure. So if people are entering personal data or any information at all into your website, what that Ssl certificate is doing is showing Google and the person doing that your website is secure, and that data is going somewhere that is not going to be accessible to everybody. Now, for a long time, it was just a little lock in the top of the address bar, and if it wasn't secure, you had an unlocked lock, and if it was secure, you had a locked lock. Now Google have made it part of their policy to flag that the site that you are going onto may not be secure. Now, people can still access your site if you don't have an Ssl certificate, but they will get that warning, and a lot of people won't go past that warning. So if you don't already have an Ssl certificate, 100% you need to get one of those. And if that's something that you need help with or guidance on, then again, come and speak to one of us. In terms of hosting, yeah, we do provide hosting ourselves. We've got a couple of different levels of hosting that we work with, from basic to sort of quite advanced hosting with firewalls and restrictions around it, and that can sort of do even sort of IP restrictions and things like that. So depending on the type of websites that you've got, the type of data that you're trying to collect, depends on what level of hosting you need, obviously the size of your website. So yeah, if you want to have a chat about hosting, then drop me a thing on the consultation form, and we can talk about that, and I can go through the different levels of hosting and which one would then be most appropriate for your website. I am going to pick a couple more, and then I will answer the rest, because I am aware that we are running out of time. Google My Business, yes, it is completely free. Most of the Google tools are free. So things like Google Analytics, Google My Business, Google Search Console, they are all free tools online, which is why we recommend using them. In terms of Google My Business, there is a wealth of information that you can add to your profile for your charity. And as a free tool, it is probably one of the best in terms of making sure that you are being seen in the right way. Connect that in with Google Analytics, which is free to add to your website as well. That can really give you some insight into who is visiting your website, how they're finding you, what search terms are being used, and then also suggestions on, for example, more other search terms that you might not have considered, which you might then think, okay, great, I really want to do something around that search term, so I can write a blog that's applicable. So definitely worth doing that if you have not done already. So in terms of sample with Yoast, Yoast is actually a free tool. So you can actually add that to your website free of charge. If it's a WordPress website, it's a plugin. There are paid for versions if you want to get more advanced and do more keywords and more editing, but actually the free tool is absolutely brilliant, and what that offers is more than enough in terms of getting you started on the right road to SEO. And it really helps you learn how your page should be structured, what things you need to be considering, where your keywords should be. So yeah, it's a free tool. So if you've got a WordPress website, make sure you get the plugin installed. Really, really useful. Use it, make sure that you're filling it in on every page, and it will really, really help with your rankings. I'm going to do one more, which I'm going to choose this one, which is around Facebook boostings. So boostings on Facebook are a bit of a a difficult one at the moment. So the Facebook algorithm is updating regularly, and it used to be fairly easy to, I suppose, manipulate the Facebook algorithm to make sure that you were reaching lots of people. Now, as more and more people have joined, as Facebook has become more commercial in its nature, the way that it works has changed and become much more difficult for things like organic growth and reaching people just through your organic posts. That's meant that they've pushed more of the commercial side of things, like boosting posts. If you are going to do that, you do have to consider the fact that Facebook looks at who is spending and who is not, whether you are set up as a business charity or a personal page. Those kind of things all play into effect. Now, for some people, it works really, really well, particularly if you have a particular event or a donation drive or a particular item in your shop that you're pushing or a particular service that you're trying to push. Those are the things that I would say are really worth boosting because you will reach a lot more people. However, it is worth considering that a lot of people are doing boosted posts now. I'm sure if you scroll through your Facebook page, you will see lots and lots and lots of sponsored posts. Not all of those will be applicable to you, as I'm sure that you are all aware. So have a think really about the content that you're using, and that's probably what's more important than whether you should boost or not. It's more what you should boost. So make sure you are boosting things that are easy to use, have a clear message, have a clear end goal, and a really, if it's going to be a click through to your website, make sure that when you're clicking, whatever your Facebook post is, goes through to a special page on your website that matches up exactly. Don't send them on a journey, they'll get lost somewhere and they'll click off, in which case you'll lose that person. So more have a think about what you're posting and what you're going to boost and what that content and what action you were expecting from that, rather than whether to boost or not. It's a really difficult one in terms of social boosting, and that applies across all of them. If you've got specific questions around it, very happy to answer those about your specific charity, because actually it varies depending on obviously what you're doing and what you're boosting. So if you want to have a free consultation, please do sign up and I can take that through with you. I'm aware there's some other questions, but I am also aware that we are running out of time. So what I will do is I will go through and answer those. I'm going to leave the chat open for a while. So if you've got any other Q&A questions that you want to, please pop them in there. So yeah, thank you. That's it for today from me. So thank you for coming along. Up next is Mike at 3 o'clock, and he's going to be talking about working as a team in the virtual world. So if you haven't signed up for that yet, and it's a brilliant webinar, it's really informative, go and sign up for that. And then for any of you that have signed up for the prize draw, make sure that you are back here at 4 o'clock for the prize draw, where we will be announcing who has won. But thank you very much for your time today. I hope you found this webinar and the webinars this morning useful, and I hope you'll go along and see Mike. Thank you very much.